Thorpe Park is known in the UK to have some of the tallest, fastest and scariest roller coasters. We've got Soar the Ride with a 100-degree drop with a washing machine finale, and even, of course, Stealth, the signature sort of that shape. I don't even know what that shape's called, but it's not really a top hat, is it? But what if the park had to follow the same laws and legislations as Alton Towers has? What if Thorpe Park couldn't build above the tree line? Now, if you didn't see, I did do this a while back with Alton Towers, but obviously this time it's the other way around. And stripping away that height limit rule from Alton Towers made for some really cool results. Although putting a height limit on Thorpe Park, I just feel like that's going to be a horrific monstrosity. And if you are new around here and you do go on to enjoy this video, then please consider subscribing. It'd be greatly appreciated. So, if Thorpe Park decided, you know what, all of our coasters are too tall, let's challenge ourselves and build them only below the tree line, they're all getting demolished, what would all the rides look like? I mean, first of all, if you want to get the easy ones out of the way, Walking Dead's building would just be bright green to blend in with the trees. Storm Surge would end up becoming a second Rapids ride. Flying Fish would remain the same, and the skyline would look something like this. Yeah, last time at Alton Towers I may have made Rita have this massive top hat, but this massive top hat is getting knocked down. Now don't worry, I am aware that every single one of these rides would be way worse if this was to be the case. I'm fully aware of that, please don't shoot me. I just think it's fun to imagine if there was some alternate universe where this was actually what life was like at Thorpe Park, you know. I mean, did you hear? Next year, Chessington are getting a 14 immersion coaster. So with flat rides and dark rides being very self-explanatory in this, as with the Alton Towers one, I'm just going to go with all their major coasters. And that includes the 6th, newest one, that's not even gone vertical yet. Starting with Soar the Ride, a Gerstlauer Eurofighter that has a vertical lift hill, a 100-foot drop, very steep and scary. And it obviously has quite a few different inversions. I mean, it even has an indoor section, for Christ's sake. And I guess what would happen with this is it would just become a smaller, more compact coaster. Or, you know, if they were feeling a bit quirky, they could do a Carnan and just stick the lift, instead of a building, inside a massive tree. Imagine rocking up to Thorpe Park, going through the entrance and being like, whoa, I can't wait to ride that massive tree ride over there. To be fair, if it was in a massive tree, it could become Chainsaw the Ride. But no, I do just reckon it would have that indoor section in its entirety, and then go out to sort of a Rager Adventure Island size big ride. But with it being more minuscule, it wouldn't be as epic, and that drop wouldn't be as cool. That's the verdict here. Over from that, though, is Colossus, or Coleslaw, as I've mistyped it multiple times now. And what would happen to that coaster? Well, it'd probably just look something like this, to be fair. Just lowered down. I mean, one change they could face is the fact that obviously Smiler over Alton Towers, with that height limit, had to utilise 2 lift hills to get those 14 inversions in. So could we see 2 lift hills on Colossus instead? Or even it could be half lift, half launch. You know, you get halfway through, you've done 1 little lift hill, down the drop, round, done 5 inversions, you do the launch, you hit that, and then you go into 5 consecutive barrel rolls. But I think out of all of them, Colossus would probably be the one that remained the most similar to its current form. But one that would change a lot in my eyes is Nemesis Inferno, the B&M inverted roller coaster that opened 9 years after the original Nemesis. And if Inferno couldn't be 100 foot tall like it is, it would probably be shit. I imagine if they didn't dig down into the ground, it would be way worse of a ride. And as much as everyone calls Inferno the B-Tech Nemesis or Nemesis 2, if there was a height limit in place at Thorpe Park as well, it would have probably been the exact same thing as Nemesis. Oh god, can you imagine an exact Nemesis clone at Thorpe? Oh god, the enthusiasts would be raging. I mean, I feel like differently to Nemesis, it would follow more of a Black Mamba style pattern where it just has a really tall lift hill. That doesn't really work in a height limit, does it? And then after the drop, it sort of delves into the jungle and goes through like loads of ravines and dips through and around the pathways. I think that'd be very cool to see. That'd be so just... It wouldn't happen though, would it? But now we are on to the iconic ride in the park, and that is, of course, the Swarm. Now, if this was height limited, I mean, first of all, the view off the top of the lift hill would be way more tragic. I wouldn't be able to see the red blurry lights coming from London, and what a shame that would be. And speaking literally as well, the ride wouldn't look as intimidating as it does now. Although, would it have meant that the Swarm, they actually decided, you know what, no lift hill anymore, and they instead went for a launched version? It could have been the first launched wing coaster ever. They just make it Mandrill Mayhem, but 11 years before. But I think a smaller, not as tall version of the Swarm would be very interesting to see. Either way, the Swarm wouldn't be as cool as Stealth if it had a height limit. Now, honestly, you may be thinking, you know what, without the height, it's just not anything really. That top hat makes the ride. And you're probably right, but I have got the perfect coaster to show you. it's genuinely better than you'd think. So with the track now not going all the way up and then back down, there's then going to be more money that can be used for the track for the rest of the layout. And this is where an old ride called Cannonen, I think, comes in, because it used to launch off into a very, very small top hat. I mean, look how piddly it looks. It's just so small. But after that top hat with the small little eject their airtime moment, it does go down into the rest of the layout, does a vertical loop and loads of different hills and stuff, and then it ends. That ride looks extravagant. So just imagine, if Stealth couldn't go that high, it could have been that. Or it could have been Rita. We could have swapped rides in this alternate universe. And now that brings me to the even taller coaster in that park and how that would somehow work. Project Exodus. Now, I know it's not built yet, so technically it's not breaking the law of the height requirement now. Because if it had to stay under the tree line, I genuinely don't know what it'd be like. Could have ended up like a Mac multi-launch, sort of low to the ground like Icon sort of is, or even if it had like a lift hill and dropped into a huge pit instead of that lake. Would it still be as short as the current layout? Maybe. Would it still be the UK's #1? Probably. And would it be better than Black Mirror Labyrinth? No. Nothing is. If you want to see this for another park in the UK, maybe like Blackpool Pleasure Beach or something, then 1,000 likes and subscribe. Kind regards, me.